The 1980s were a golden age for the NBA, boasting legendary figures like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. Yet, amidst these superstars of the game, there is another from that era who often gets forgotten, even though he had iconic moments against all of those 80s household names. They called him the human highlight film, Dominique Wilkins. While his moniker speaks volumes about his incredible above-the-rim playstyle, it sometimes overshadows the fact that Neek was so much more than just a high flyer. He was, in fact, one of the most dominant and versatile scorers in NBA history. With that being said, how exactly was Wilkins able to get to a point where he finished 8th on the NBA's all-time scoring list when he retired in 1999 and inevitably a statue in front of State Farm Arena in Atlanta? These are the skills of Dominique Wilkins. Explained. When Neek entered the NBA in 1982, he was a physical force unlike anything the league had seen before at his position. Standing tall at 6'8", with incredible length and athleticism, he was the prototype for the modern slashers of today's game. In those days, however, players with Wilkins' incredible combination of size and athleticism was like finding a rare gem. There was Elgin Baylor, then Julius Erving after him, and now, as the 1980s began, Dominique Wilkins was ready to join their ranks as one of the most spectacular athletes ever to play small forward. His offensive game was best described as attack mode. Whether in transition or a half-court set, his primary objective was to relentlessly assault the rim. Blessed with one of the quickest first steps in league history, Wilkins could blow past defenders with laughable ease. Once he committed towards attacking the basket, his tremendous leaping ability and impressive wingspan made him nearly unstoppable. He would often rise above helpless defenders, throwing down thunderous dunks that left crowds in awe. Some of Neek's favorite victims of his devastating dunks were the league's centers. He loved to challenge those who thought they ruled the paint. Let's hear the man himself explain why he wasn't afraid to go right at these larger adversaries.
Big guys love to block shots. Sure. They weren't taking charges. They were challenging your shot. So it was more satisfying to catch a Robert Parrish or a Moses Malone or one of those big guys who like to go up and challenge. It was no better feeling.
Wilkins' dunks were not just powerful, they were also incredibly acrobatic. Like Michael Jordan, he possessed exceptional body control, allowing him to contort his body and adjust his shot angles in midair. This resulted in a highlight reel filled with breathtaking double-clutch dunks and finishes that showcased his unique blend of power and finesse. One of Dominique's most unforgettable plays was this stunning dunk over Bob Lanier, a Hall of Famer known for his shot-blocking prowess. Lanier was a formidable defender, averaging 1.5 blocks per game throughout his career, and even reaching a peak of 3 blocks per game in his prime with the Pistons. Yet Wilkins managed to soar over him with such power, grace, and body control that it sent the Atlanta home crowd into an absolute frenzy. This poster dunk was so impactful, so demoralizing, that it deeply wounded Lanier's pride. Neek has since said that the big man legitimately refused to speak to Wilkins for 9 whole years. This play perfectly encapsulates the human highlight film's dominance and the fear he instilled in his opponents. Trying to guard Dominique Wilkins was like trying to stop a runaway train. He was so powerful and explosive that most defenders simply had no answer for him in the 1980s. His ferocious dunks and ability to score through contact made him a nightmare for anyone who dared to stand in his way. It's fascinating to consider how Dominique's game would translate to the modern NBA. With so much emphasis on spacing and three-point shooting, he would have even more room to utilize his explosive first step and attack the basket. Additionally, the often criticized rules against physicality and the banning of hand-checking would likely benefit Wilkins and make it even harder for defenders to contain him. In today's NBA, where teams focus on defending the three-point line and players who guard the paint are generally lighter and less physical than the 80s, Dominique Wilkins' incredible slashing ability and knack for finishing through contact would be even more devastating. With his natural speed and power, he would likely have had even more opportunities to unleash those ferocious dunks that made him so famous. Think of players like Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant, but with an even greater determination to attack inside. And who knows, if in this environment, we would have witnessed more of his underrated playmaking abilities. While his passing might not be what he's most known for, when watching him play in his era, it's clear he has a knack for finding the open man. It makes you wonder if his playmaking skills would have been even more impressive in today's style of play. Perhaps when Neek played, with more teammates also focused on attacking the basket, those opportunities were less available. As defenses scrambled to contain his explosive drives to the basket, imagine him dishing the ball to open teammates for easy scores. It's a tantalizing thought to consider how his already impressive career might have been further elevated in today's NBA. While his athleticism and dunking prowess were undeniable, Wilkins was far from one-dimensional. He possessed a graceful and fundamentally sound offensive game that extended beyond his highlight reel slams. Dominique Wilkins was a master of the spin move. He used it to create amazing layups, including the spectacular 360 layup, long before guys like Ja Morant made it popular today. But Wilkins didn't just use this move in the air. He also unleashed it in the low post, smoothly spinning around defenders with incredible precision and power. This made him one of the most dangerous low-post scorers in the league at the time, capable of creating his own shot against any kind of defender, big or small. Wilkins was a scoring threat from all over the court. While he was known for his powerful drives to the basket, he was also a very underrated mid-range shooter. Defenders were often so afraid of him getting to the rim that they would give him too much space and not enough respect for his shooting ability. This allowed Wilkins to use his quickness and deceptive moves, like his stutter step, to create space for his deadly pull-up jumper. Once he elevated for his shot, it was almost impossible to block. This made him a truly versatile scorer, able to attack the basket or pull up for a jumper whenever he wanted. Unlike some other great players like a young Giannis, who struggled against defenses that packed the paint or made a wall, Dominique always had a counter move ready. Even when his shot missed its mark, Wilkins was a constant threat on the offensive glass. He is arguably the greatest putback dunker the league has ever seen. With his incredible second jumping ability and gift for finding the ball off the rim, he would soar through the air, snatching rebounds away from defenders before throwing down thunderous putback slams like only Dominique could. In fact, during the time Neek played in the league, he had the most offensive rebounds per game by a small forward with 2.7. Wilkins' rebounding prowess was not limited to the offensive end, though. He possessed a high basketball IQ and an innate understanding of angles, allowing him to use his elite athleticism to anticipate missed shots and position himself for the ball. He consistently outworked and outmaneuvered opponents to secure the defensive rebounds with tenacity. As all great scorers must do as they age out of their athletic prime, Neek expanded his range as his career progressed. In the early 1990s, he developed a reliable three-point shot, becoming one of the league's most dangerous perimeter threats, finishing in the top 10 in three-point makes and attempts in 1993, helping him end up just behind Michael Jordan for the scoring title that season. This added dimension to his game allowed him to age gracefully, continuing to keep defenses honest and unable to sag off him. Beyond his offensive brilliance, Wilkins was also remarkably durable. In the first 9 years of his career, he played in 720 of a possible 738 regular season games, showcasing his resilience and commitment to staying on the court and being available for his team. This streak was unfortunately interrupted by an Achilles tear in 1992. Wilkins was one of the first superstar athletes to suffer the devastating injury that has drastically altered or ended many great careers for the worse. But Dominique was not one to give up. He fought back with incredible determination and worked tirelessly to recover. And the next season, he shocked the world. He returned to the court and somehow managed to score almost 30 points a game and finish 5th in MVP voting. This incredible comeback showed just how strong and dedicated Dominique Wilkins was. He refused to let this injury define him, and he came back stronger than ever. Dominique Wilkins was an assertive force on the court, a player who refused to be denied. Even when defenses knew what was coming, they often struggled to contain him. He was a relentless scorer, a master of his craft who defied expectations and cemented his place among the NBA's elite. As Wilkins himself once said, "You don't score over 25,000 points in your career as only a dunker." His words perfectly encapsulate his legacy as a player who was far more than just a highlight reel around the basket. He was a complete scorer, a skilled technician, and a fierce competitor who left an indelible mark on the game of basketball.